Water is rising, streets are flooding, and entire American cities are sinking beneath our feet. You've seen the headlines after hurricanes and flash floods, but what's happening right now is bigger, slower, and far more dangerous. This isn't just about bad weather, it's about a nationwide flood crisis that could reshape the map of America. Let's start with New Orleans, a city built below sea level surrounded by levees and pumps. Locals joke that the city is a bowl, and when the water comes in, it has nowhere to go. But it's no joke when storms hit. In June, heavy rains overwhelmed drainage canals, and entire neighborhoods turned into lakes. Cars floated down streets, businesses shut down, and families waded through waist-deep water to get home. And this wasn't even a hurricane, just a heavy summer storm. Now think about Miami. Every year, sunny day flooding becomes more common. Streets fill with seawater even when there isn't a storm in sight, as tides push higher and higher. Imagine walking out of your home on a perfectly clear morning, only to find the ocean pooling at your doorstep. That's daily life for parts of Miami Beach right now. Pumps and seawalls are being built, but the water keeps rising. And then there's New York. When Hurricane Ida struck in 2021, it wasn't the storm surge that caused chaos, it was the rain. Subway tunnels filled with water. Cars were trapped on highways. Dozens of people drowned in basement apartments as water rushed in faster than they could escape. Officials called it a once-in-a-century flood. But here's the problem. Once in a century now seems to happen every few years. This isn't just about hurricanes or freak events. Scientists say the ground beneath many American cities is literally sinking, a process called subsidence. Combine that with sea level rise, and you have a dangerous equation. In places like Houston, groundwater pumping has caused the land to sink several feet in just a few decades. That means even ordinary rainstorms hit harder, last longer, and flood more neighborhoods. And here's the part that should worry everyone. Flooding isn't just a coastal problem anymore. Inland cities are also at risk. In Chicago, record rainfall has sent rivers overflowing, swamping neighborhoods far from Lake Michigan. In St. Louis, a single storm dumped more than 9 inches of rain in less than 24 hours, breaking every record in the book. In Texas, flash floods have swept away cars, homes, even bridges. So why is this happening? 3 reasons: sinking land, rising seas, and aging infrastructure. America's flood defenses were built for the last century, not the one we're living in now. Levees, dams, drainage systems, most of them were designed for storms of the past. But today's storms are stronger, wetter, and more frequent. And cities are growing faster than the systems meant to protect them. Think about this. In Houston, thousands of new homes have been built in former wetlands, land that naturally soaked up rainfall. But when you pave it over with concrete, that water has nowhere to go. So it floods. Developers made their money, but residents pay the price when their homes go underwater. And the economic impact? It's staggering. Flood damage in the US costs tens of billions of dollars every year. One FEMA study found that 90% of US counties have experienced at least one major flood disaster in the last 20 years. Insurance premiums are skyrocketing. In some flood-prone neighborhoods, homeowners can't even get coverage anymore. Families are left to rebuild on their own, again and again, until finally they give up and move away. But this isn't new. History tells us what happens when we underestimate the power of water. In 1889, the Johnstown flood in Pennsylvania killed more than 2,200 people when a dam collapsed. In 1900, a hurricane hit Galveston, Texas, killing at least 8,000 and leaving the city in ruins. And in 1927, the Mississippi River flooded more than 27,000 square miles, displacing hundreds of thousands of people. The lesson? When water comes, it doesn't care about history, politics, or promises. It just takes. And where do people go after the water takes everything? That's the quiet crisis no one's talking about: climate migration inside the United States. Already, people are leaving parts of Louisiana, Florida, and even California because the risk is too high. Entire communities could vanish in the coming decades. The U.S. Census Bureau projects that by 2050, up to 13 million Americans could be forced to move inland because of sea level rise. Imagine Miami, New Orleans, or Galveston turning into ghost towns. That's not science fiction, it's a very real possibility. Meanwhile, other countries are racing ahead with solutions. In the Netherlands, where 2/3 of the country is vulnerable to flooding, they've built massive sea barriers, floating neighborhoods, and room for the river projects that let water spread safely. In Venice, Italy, engineers built a billion-dollar system of floodgates to protect the city from rising tides. Meanwhile, in America, we patch holes, rebuild in the same floodplains, and hope the next storm won't be as bad. Now here's the big question. What happens when the next mega hurricane hits? Katrina devastated New Orleans in 2005. Sandy flooded New York in 2012. Ida drowned the Northeast in 2021. Experts say it's not if another storm like that hits, it's when. And this time, with seas higher, land lower, and more people in harm's way, the damage could be far worse. And it's not just about property. Flooding threatens food, energy, and security. The Mississippi River, America's backbone for shipping and farming, is increasingly unstable, sometimes flooding, sometimes drying up. Refineries, power plants, and ports along the Gulf Coast are all vulnerable. A single storm surge could knock out fuel supplies for half the country. Picture this. It's the year 2050. Sea levels are more than a foot higher. Miami's downtown is underwater 3 times a month. New Orleans struggles to keep its pumps running every storm season. New York's lower boroughs are walled off by billion-dollar sea barriers, but smaller neighborhoods drown anyway. Inland, cities like Dallas and Atlanta swell with climate migrants, straining housing and infrastructure. This isn't a disaster movie, it's a very real scenario drawn from current data. So where does this leave us? Some cities are trying bold solutions. Miami is spending billions on pumps and seawalls. New York is planning a massive sea barrier across its harbor. New Orleans is raising levees higher than ever. But experts warn these are band-aids on a problem that isn't going away. The water keeps rising. The land keeps sinking. And the storms keep coming. This is America's silent crisis. It doesn't make headlines every day. But year by year, storm by storm, flood by flood, it chips away at our homes, our cities, and our future. Let me ask you this. How many more once-in-a-century disasters will it take before America truly acts? Should we be building Dutch-style defenses? Or is it time to start moving whole communities out of harm's way? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear what you think. And if you're finding this breakdown useful, hit that like button and share it with a friend. It helps a lot more than you think. Here on Wolfgang's Daily Bite, we cut through the noise and bring you the stories that matter, without the fluff. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Because the truth is, America's flood crisis isn't a problem for tomorrow. It's already here. And unless we face it head-on, the water will keep rising, the land will keep sinking, and the cities we love may one day be swallowed whole.